Well, I know one thing about this movie. My mother will never be watching it.
Mother, can you keep them in the dark for a while? Can you have a proper wedding world? Oh.
Mother is directed by Darren Aronofsky and starring Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Before I go any further, I just want to say there will not be any plot spoilers in this review, but I will briefly be discussing one of the more talked about interpretations of this film. So I just want to warn you for that. If you want to watch the film not knowing any of the interpretations whatsoever, I highly recommend watching the movie and then watching this review. This film is about a husband and wife portrayed by Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence who live out in the country, and he is a famous writer and she is restoring their new country home, and they are visited by the characters portrayed by Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer, and that sets off a very weird chain of events that happens in their lives. I personally am a big fan of Darren Aronofsky. When I was first getting into film seriously about 10 years ago, I started gravitating towards a lot of his films and really watching a lot of his back catalog. He is very much a true auteur, and that is why Mother is a very divisive film. It is something that is very expressionistic from his perspective. It was really a cathartic movie for him. He has said that in several interviews that this was a film that he felt he needed to make. This film is very well acted by Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Those are the four principal characters in this film, and what is most interesting about this film is none of the characters have any proper names. Jennifer Lawrence is simply titled Mother, Javier Bardem's character is titled Him, Ed Harris's character is titled Man, and Michelle Pfeiffer's character is titled Woman. So we're dealing with a film that is very abstract here. It is not so much about the plot. I will also say Darren Aronofsky is a master when it comes to the technical aspects of filmmaking. He knows how to set mood, set tone, utilize camera angles, utilize a lot of different atmospheric elements. There is a lot of close-ups in this film, a lot of tight framing, particularly on the Jennifer Lawrence's character as we go on this very mysterious, very ambiguous journey for most of the film with her. What this tight framing does is make the film very claustrophobic for her character and for us as an audience member. We are kind of on the edge of our seats throughout most of this film because we don't know what is happening around this character. All we can really see is what she sees for most of the time and what we can glimpse on the sides of the frame. Typically, most films utilize master shots and wide shots to set up scenes or set up scenarios. This film doesn't. I understand that this film is not for everyone. It is very divisive. A lot of people hate it. Some people love it. I am someone who is actually in awe of it in many of its aspects. I think so much of this film is brilliant, especially when it comes to the layering of themes and depth in this film. There is so much to unpack. You have to be fully engaged as a viewer, and even then, the film will seem overwhelming to you. But I welcome that overwhelmingness, that feeling, because this film challenges us as a viewer. It makes us have to participate. This is not a typical film where you just go to the theater and enjoy for an entertainment purpose. No, this film is very thought-provoking, and that is where I feel the strengths of this film really lie. And this is where I get into a little bit of the spoiler route, but I'm not going to be saying anything plot-wise. I initially thought this film was about the relation between a famous person and its muse and how the world views this famous person. Because Javier Bardem's character in this film is supposed to be a very famous, very popular writer. And the Jennifer Lawrence character is someone who is there just to be his inspiration, just to kind of cater to his needs, and uses her in that way. And it was very telling, the distance between their relationship in this film. And as the film progresses, you see how the outside world perceives the character of Javier Bardem, and you could see how the film could be a commentary on modern fame and how chaotic and how crazy and how obsessive it has become. But then after I had saw the film and had some discussions with some friends, I began to realize the film goes a lot more deeper than that, a lot more abstract than that. I was kind of viewing at almost a literal level, and there is really nothing about this film you can view literally. Everything is subtext. And the main message or the main interpretation of this film that a lot of people are discussing is that the film is very much discussing the relationship between God, being the Javier Bardem character, the mother character is Mother Earth and Jennifer Lawrence, the Ed Harris character and the Michelle Pfeiffer character are biblical allegories of Adam and Eve and the fall of man, and they represent humanity. And the film chronicles the relationship between all of these beings and how complicated and how violent and how chaotic and just insane that relationship has become in modern times. And that is when we get to the third act of the film, which takes a very hard left turn. I want to warn people, the third act of this film is just unmistakably original, insane, chaotic, violent, aggressive. The third act of this film assaults the viewers in ways that I wasn't expecting, but I was just glued to the screen because I couldn't figure out what was happening. It was just so wild. Ultimately, that is the portion of the film that loses a lot of people, and I understand that very much, because one of the negative aspects I have is that the first 2/3 of this film are one film, and the third act is something completely different. The first 2/3 acts of the film are mysterious, they are ambiguous, and you're kind of trying to figure things out on your own, and the third act just explains everything for you. The metaphor just hits you over the head repeatedly. And also, the film has some plot pacing issues that are inherent in that change. Like I said, it's very slow, then becomes very fast, and then at the end becomes extremely fast. So with all that being said, I'm going to give this film a 4 out of 5 stars. I know I may be in part of the vast minority that did like this film, but I think the acting is great, the direction is great, I felt it to be entirely unique and original and thought-provoking. So that has been my review of Mother. If you like this video, please check out the other videos on my channel.